Train how you want. All right, there's a lot of different methods on the internet on how to train. Which one's the most optimal? Oh, you should be doing this. You should be doing this. You don't know how to train, but in this video, I'm basically gonna tell you train how you want. All right, the reason why is because the science is always changing. All right, everything's always changing. You might not enjoy working out doing this specific optimal workout because you know it's just not fun. So just do the workouts you enjoy doing the most so you can stay consistent to it. So I made this presentation that goes a little more in depth in how to train how you want. All right. So first, we're going to talk about how all the golden era bodybuilders built their physique by becoming stronger. They didn't sit there and study the most optimal workouts. They didn't sit there and study which one will give me the most stimulus in this specific area. They weren't like these gay little nerds, right? That's what we can call it. There's nothing wrong with doing like lifting like that, I guess, but it's just a lot of the people who do it are just losers, bro. I like look at this guy for example. This dude has a mouth guard. He has like these little, I don't even know what this is, like these little paddles just to hit the Pacific muscle. All right, I don't know if this video is a joke. It probably is, but if it's not, I mean, this is just sad. Imagine just getting all these equipment for the gym just to get this one Pacific muscle group hit, right? It's not even gonna be that big of a difference anyway. So focus on becoming stronger. All right, that's gonna be the main goal. Because all the golden era bodybuilders built their physique by becoming stronger. They didn't sit there and did the most optimal workouts. They just did the workouts they enjoyed the most. And since they always, enjoy working out, they wanted to work out more. And when they worked out more, they built these big, crazy physiques. All right, so take some note of that. Now, I also want to claim, I said this a little bit in the beginning of the video, but I also want to say science is always changing. All right, so the most optimal workout right now might be a horrible workout in 10 years, right? The most optimal diet right now, according to the science, can be the worst diet like in 10 years. It can be the most unhealthy diet ever. For example, like back in the 90s, I think, or the 80s, they used to say sugar, no, they used to say fat was very unhealthy for you. Fat was terrible for you, so they would replace all these products with fat with a whole bunch of processed sugar. And now everyone got fat from doing that. All right, and then they come out and say fat's a little bit more healthier. So the science is always changing. To be honest, a lot of these people don't even know what they're talking about. So just do what you want to do at the end of the day. Eat a healthy diet, do the most optimal workouts. Or not, no, no, do the workouts you enjoy doing the most. That's gonna be those optimal workouts. All right. So for example, if you enjoy doing bench press, do bench press. All right. Don't sit there and be like, wait, I need to hit my chest. So you go on this specific chest machine, this specific chest machine. Then you go and get the mouth guard out, and you go on the cables, and you start doing like this fly. Like you don't gotta do all that. Just, if you want to, grow your chest, just do a lot of bench press. All right, you're gonna grow your chest regardless. Okay. Also, I want to say this before we get to this slide. Also, if you're lifting for like 2 years already, okay, and you really want to grow your chest, and you already been doing, all the compound lifts, then sure, you can, start trying some of these science-based workouts. But when you first start out, especially that first 1 to 2 years, I mean, you basically just want to focus on building a big foundation. All right, you don't want to sit there and do all these isolation workouts. All right, you can do it at the end of your workouts if you really want to, but even then, I think you should just build a foundation, see where your genetics are, and then whenever you have weak points, you can go fix those weak points later on. So, for example, let's say you do a lot of bench press and pull ups and stuff for like 2 years, right? You could get consistently stronger. Then let's say you just feel like you have a weak, like, let's say you have weak shoulders. So maybe then you can start doing some more shoulder isolation exercises at the end of each workout because it's lacking in your physique. Okay, so that's basically how you should do these isolation exercises. You shouldn't just have a huge chest and then want to do some isolation chest exercises. There's no point because you already got a big chest. So the only reason why you should be doing isolation exercises is if you just have a weak point that you want to fix. But other than that, there's really no need to do that. And if you don't enjoy it, don't do it either. I mean, because if you're not enjoying the workout, then you're not going to want to do it consistently. All right, the people who work out consistently are the people who are enjoying the workouts. They're not doing those optimal things. All right, those people, most of the people who do the most optimal workouts are very inconsistent. And I was one of them too whenever I was trying to do the most optimal workouts back in the day. I would do the workout for like 2 weeks and I would just get bored and I would just skip it and then it led to me not making any progress in the long run. All right. So do what you want. That's what I'm basically saying. All right. Now we're gonna talk about science-based lifting. So Let's see. All right, science-based lifting focuses on low reps versus high reps. So most science-based lifters are going to tell you the most optimal thing to do is to go low reps. So like 4 to 8, I guess usually not 1 to 3, but like 4 to 8. They usually say low reps. They don't say high reps because higher reps like 12 to like 20 could lead to fatigue. But if you enjoy doing high reps, do high reps. All right, don't listen to these science-based lifters who are telling you, "Oh, high reps isn't optimal. You're gonna just be getting more fatigue." But at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, you might get a little fatigue, but whenever you're doing these high rep workouts, you're not gonna get injured as much because it's not as much weight, and you're also gonna be able to get more blood flow into the muscle you're hitting. Okay, and whenever you get blood flow in the muscle you're hitting, you're gonna see a better pump. And even though a pump's not actually muscle, it looks really good. It looks really good for pictures. And everyone loves a pump. A pump motivates you to go to the gym. All right, it's one of those things that really motivate me to go to the gym. All right, now science-based lifting is also going to say isolation over compound lifts. All right, most science-based lifters, some will actually say do compound and then isolation later, but some will just say isolation. So for example, the Keenan flap, I will show you that in a second. The Keenan flap is a good example of this. They'll tell you to do the Keenan flap over like some pull-ups where they both grow your lats, but the pull-ups grow more than just the lats. Boring training. All right, now for some people, they might enjoy this. All right, I don't know who those some people are. Me personally, I don't enjoy it, but if you enjoy it, then keep doing it. All right, do what you like to do. That's basically what I'm saying. Silly exercises. So, for example, this guy right here, this is a silly exercise. All right, this is not the only one who's doing something this ridiculous. All right, there's other people too, but yeah, that's science-based lifting for you. Now we got compound over isolation. So this is what we're going to talk about next. You want to focus on doing compound movements over isolation exercises. So again, the Keenan flaps. This is going to hit your lats. But why only hit your lats when you can hit all these other muscle groups at the same time as your lats? You know what I mean? Now, like I said, if you have a big foundation, you already have a really good developed physique. You already have a big, strong back. You already have, everything else developed, and your lats are very lacking. Your lats are lacking. That's how we're gonna say it. Then you can start doing some Keenan flaps. All right. But if you don't enjoy the Keenan flaps, and if you don't have a foundation already set, there's no point of doing them. All right, because you're just gonna grow overdeveloped lats. And there's no problem with that. To be honest, overdeveloped lats, they're cool, but it's just pointless, right? It's just pointless. There's no point of doing it, and it's gonna, lead your physique to look very unproportionate and unbalanced. All right, so you don't want to do that. Compound over isolation, especially when you first start out. All right. Now we're gonna go ahead and just do this. I usually come in here. How do I exit? All right. I'm just gonna come over here and show you guys this right here. So this is my program, the Bat Cave. All right. This is my transformation. 135 to 155 pounds in like what, 6 months, 6 to 8 months. And then, this is a 6 month difference right here. This was me back in June. And I was training for 2 years in this first picture, by the way. I was already training for 2 years. And then when I started training the proper way, I got to right here in like 6 months. I made like a crazy progress, all right? This is just like a little picture. All right, but this is the Bat Cave right here. What you get in here is you're going to get the Dark Knight Blueprint. I'm not going to click it because that's going to be for the people who join, but there's a whole bunch of courses in there if you're interested. So if you're interested, top link in the description. Let's get back into the video. All right, we're not going to make that, too long. So how should you train? That's the question that we all been waiting for. How should you train? So like I said, train how you want. All right, just train how you want. Literally, train how you want. If you're feeling bench press today, or matter of fact, let's say this. Let's say one day you wake up and you just feel like you want to train your chest, but you trained chest 2 days ago, so the science-based lifters are going to say, oh, it's not optimal. Let's just train it anyway because you want to train your chest today. All right, that's basically the mindset you want to go. You don't want to have these splits. You can't have these splits. Me personally, I do follow splits, but I mean, if you just want to train how you want, if you want to go fully into this, there's nothing wrong with just training what muscles you want to do. So if you really feel like training your back today, but you trained back 2 days ago or yesterday, just train it again. Why not? I mean, you're not gonna make too much gains, but you will make a little bit of gains, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna make your gym experience a lot more fun. It's gonna make you want to go more. All right, maybe this day you want to train your biceps. You just want to grow these big biceps. You know, you also just want to grow like your chest and abs, for example. Then go do that. All right, you don't have to follow these specific splits if you just want to train how you want. Okay, you're gonna make you're not gonna make as much gains as the person who's doing the most optimal lifts consistently, but most of those people aren't staying consistent regardless. So the person who stays consistent is gonna make way more gains anyway. All right. Now, right here, I say compound or isolation. Now, ideally, you're doing compound lifts to build a foundation. All right. And then isolation at the end of the workouts to fix your weak points. But, I mean, if you enjoy doing isolation exercises, if you enjoy doing these science-based lifting exercises, go do it. All right. There's no issue with doing it if you enjoy doing it. Just most people don't enjoy doing it. That's what I'm basically trying to say. So do the workouts you enjoy doing. Exercise without doing too much. So don't do too much like this guy over here. You guys already know what picture this is. Don't do too much. You don't need all this stuff to hit whatever muscle group he's hitting. You don't need all this stuff. Just don't do too much. All right, that's all I'm trying to say. You don't have to move a bench all the way across the gym to go to the cable so you can get an optimal stretch for your workout. Just stupid. Just hop on the peg deck and you're gonna get the most. Hop on the peg deck and you get similar results. That's all I'm gonna say. All right. And we got fun unoptimal training versus boring optimal training. Okay, this is how you should train. Fun unoptimal training is going to lead to consistent results. You're going to want to start going to the gym more. Boring optimal training is going to lead to inconsistent training. All right, because it's boring. You don't enjoy it. You know, you look at the gym and you're just like, gotta go to the gym today. Bro, I might just skip. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not trying to go to the gym today. I'm trying to go home and just eat some pizza. Versus the guy who's like enjoying their lifts, he's gonna be like, "Let's go. We're gonna go to the gym today. Gonna get this pump. We're gonna go crazy." He has this music in his head. He's in a good mood, right? So that's how you should have your mindset. Just enjoy the gym, and you can do this by enjoying the workouts you do. Now this is gonna be the final slide, I believe. Yep, this is the final slide, and this is a little example of 1 to 2 years of lifting, of building a strong foundation. And then this is going to be the 2 years after where he improves his weak points through isolation exercises. So this is just an example of what I was talking about a little bit of why you should just do compound lifts, especially your first 1 to 2 years of lifting. Just spam compound lifts, do your bench press, do your pull-ups. If you want to, you can do deadlifts, you can do squats. All right. If you enjoy them, if you don't enjoy them, you don't have to do them. Just do the workouts you want. I recommend you do some sort of compound movement, like maybe push-ups, pull-ups, like I said, those two. Or maybe you're more of a guy who likes to do bench press and deadlifts. Just do what you want at the end of the day. Focus on building a strong foundation. And then you can do your isolation exercises later on when you had the foundation and you want to improve your weak points. All right, so if you made this far in the video, drop a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you never miss an upload, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, if you found this video valuable, leave a comment down below how you want to train. All right, and I'll see y'all in the next one. All right, we out.